Hello, folks. Welcome to the Power of People podcast. My name is Mark Erlenwein. I'm a principal at Staten Island Technical High School, and I am joined by my friend and co-host.
I'm Bob Wolf. I am a college and career skills coach. I'm the founder of Hope the Student's Bridge to Business and a series of presentations called Human Interaction, Knowledge Applied Skills. And we're excited to be back on the air giving you information that will help you all through your life.
That's right, Bob. We welcome everybody back to the Power of People podcast, episode 7, where we hope and you learn and you come to realize that people are the number one resource in your life, and what you can do to use the power of people to your advantage. And we hope that you realize that you never succeed at anything in life by yourself. And as Bob's IG theory of success says it best, an individual success is always the result of a group effort.
And Mark, when we came up with the idea, we both are very, very fortunate people in that where we are, if we look back at the trail of people who have helped us get to where we are and challenged us and gave us opportunities, it would be hundreds, if not thousands of people. And we want the students and the adult learners out there that are struggling and people coming out of the service or looking for jobs to realize that it is true. Their number one resource in life is people. What you know is important. Who you know is very often more important in life.
That's very true. And that's been one of the main points of this passion project of ours, Bob, is to get people to really focus on what the power of people is, does, how, why, when it helps you every day in some way, and how to really hone in on that source and make it work for them in their lives and their careers.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question of what is the power of people? It's an energy source. It's someone who has the ability to look at you and see opportunity and potential that you don't see in yourself. That's certainly been the case for me. So what it is, it's an opportunity to take everyone that we bump into or see or talk to in life to say, that's the kind of person I can help. That's the kind of person I'd like to know more about. And I'm sure that's happened to you all through your life when you were in your interest in music, when you were interested in your WWE world. I mean, you've met so many interesting people, and they saw something in Mark Erlenwein that was pretty special. And I believe there's something special in each one of us that it takes other people to discover sometimes.
Yeah, it's very true. And it's funny, I'm looking over my shoulders at R2D2 and Grogu, also affectionately known as Baby Yoda. And that force that is often referred to in the Star Wars universe. The power of people is that force in our universe. And learning really how to tap into that has that similar affect that the Force had in the Star Wars series, whether it be for Luke Skywalker or some of the newer characters as the series has unfolded.
Well, your use of the term, the Force be with you, the force that we want these people listening into this podcast to realize is people, pure and simple. Now, you know I'm an acronym guy, and I've created lots of different acronyms, but the one for people is the one that gets the most attention from students, parents, and teachers. Because what people means is, from an acronym standpoint, present exciting opportunities plus learning experiences. People are really the force that R2D2 was bringing to everyone in that series.
I really agree, very much so. And thinking back on Star Wars and those experiences between a younger Luke and Yoda, along with R2D2 there were skills that Luke had to learn to really hone and use the Force to work to his advantage. And I think when we talk about the power of people, what is that power and what are those skills that bridges a student's ability into that realm of utilizing those tools to harness this power that we keep on talking about?
It's a great point and a great question. What is the power of people? It's the ability and the power to motivate, to inspire, to encourage, to challenge, to find fault with, to be constructively critical, to analyze and make you look at yourself and say, wait a minute, who am I? People saw things in me in my life I never saw, ever. And now I'm using them, and I've used them to earn a living. And I'm sure that may have happened with you, and I guarantee you it will happen to every listener out there. So the power is motivate, inspire, encourage, challenge. Wow. Unbelievable. That force within you is the people seeing things in you that you don't see within yourself.
Well, you mentioned just a moment ago about think of all the people who've been influential in your life, prior to and up until this very moment. And I know you and I have talked many a time, and I think we even in one of our previous episodes, I listed all the various jobs I had, but in each and every one of those jobs, there was at least 2 or 3 or more people who are so influential in modeling for me. And I think that's really important. The whole concept in education, we always talk about, well, there's these concepts and theories, but model it for me. Show the students what it is you're talking about. And I think I had really great models to follow. And they're often called role models, but modeling comes in all different shapes and sizes, smells, colors, tangible, intangible. And I think about all of that and all the people connected to those models that were really influential in getting me to this point. And I think that that's something that's really important that youth and even adults don't really grab onto as much as they possibly could.
We have become, in society, in my opinion, this is a general comment, we've become a very me society. And certainly in academics, when you move from the me world of academics, my grades, my test scores, my activities, my friends, to the we world of business, where you gain more connections, you meet more people, you have more challenges, that me to we becomes extremely important. And we want the people to realize that the we part of it are the people that they will meet, people that they never may think about helping them in some way. Even if you're having a bad day and someone were to meet you and see you when you said good morning and they said good morning back, you may have lifted their spirits and they may have helped lift yours. So the me world of where we live now today, and we see more of it, and you see it in school, Mark, every day. My grades, my stress, my anxiety. When you get into the world and you meet other people who will look at what we do, they can help get us through those difficult times. Happened to me often in my life.
Yeah, it's funny. Just a really great example of it just happened a few moments ago before we hopped onto this podcast to record. My superintendent, my boss, Dr. Wilson, and I notice she does this quite often, and I marvel at it, and I appreciate it so much. She truly models what we should be doing in schools. Anytime, she's a very collaborative superintendent and boss, if you will, and she acknowledges the origins of all ideas and help that she receives to do her job. In these video conferences, when there's 80 principals on there, she'll name the different folks. Here's this idea that we're working on, courtesy of principal such and such from this school. And she'll always do that. She'll rattle off in the matter of like 5 minutes about 10 or 15 names of different people who helped shape ideas. So you talk about the idea of the collective efforts and distributive leadership. And she's been really appreciative this summer, not having a full staff to work with her. So some of the principals, we've all kind of chipped in to help. She sent us another email asking us, I want to thank you for everything that you guys have been doing. How else can I do that besides saying thank you? And it was just a really nice way of modeling, once again, none of us want any thanks. There's no money. And the only thing we can ask for is, could we come together? With this pandemic going on, the one thing we haven't been able to do is come together in person and to speak and see one another. So that's all we ask for. The thanks is just this sentiment. But I think it's really important to what you and I are talking about is not common sense. It has to be modeled. It has to be shown intentionally.
Good use of the change of the word. When I got involved in schools, everyone was talking about we want teachers to model the behavior we want the students to behavior. And I didn't really understand what modeling was. Modeling is simply doing things and seeing things that you see work for other people, then you assimilate them into the traits and the behaviors and the habits that you would like to exhibit. I didn't learn that until I was in the business world.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what, the other example that I'll give you was when I listened to and saw the speaker at your commencement. And Lieutenant Colonel Adam Shearer gave a phenomenal speech, in my opinion. The one thing he did, though, was at one point he said, every student, I'd like you to stand up.
Yeah.
I want you to turn around. And I want you to look at every person in your life that's helped you get to where you are. If that wasn't the perfect metaphor for the power of people in action that day, I don't know what was. So frankly, when we talk, I know using the word modeling with students, they may not understand what that is. It's just seeing something in someone that works for them and then finding a way to assimilate it into you. And we'll get into some of that later when we talk about the specific skills. But what your superintendent does, she acknowledges people. And that's all we're trying to make these young people and adult learners know, and people that are struggling to find new jobs, acknowledge that people can help you in some way. They are the force, the number one resource in your life.
And that's what I think is so remarkable about her method and way of leading. She models what we all should be doing by, calling out people who helped you, by name, and by task, and by idea, and by influence. Education and the real world needs to do a lot less talking about modeling and more doing and more showing the examples of these skills. And Bob, over the years, even when you've been in my school here in Staten Island, helping show these students exactly as what you're talking about, I think of just the very way in which you introduce yourself and present to our students as soon as the bell rings and they're attempting to enter the door. Because there are certain skills that you make a point of right from the very beginning before they even cross the threshold into the classroom. I think we should talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's an interesting point, Mark. When I started to do this project 21 years ago, I thought, I'm going to walk into a school, into a classroom of students who don't know me, from high school through middle school and graduate school, and I'm going to ask them to listen to me before they even know who I am. So the first thing I try to do is I do something that's common sense to me, and it's been common sense for me ever since I've been in business, which is a long time. It's just look people in the eye, smile, and say good morning, and shake their hand,
Right.
and then walk to the next person and do the same thing. That personal connection is a wonderful way to demonstrate that you care about connecting with them. Again, the skills that we're talking about, you have to be approachable, and you have to be a personable personality. You got to be you have to show them that you care. And believe it or not, some of the students have actually written, when you shook my hand, it showed me that you cared about me. And I thought, oh my goodness, before I say a word,
so simple.
And so to your point, modeling really should be called demonstrating. If I don't demonstrate the skills that I talk about and present, and I can't let the students see, hear, and feel how those skills look, sound, and act, I'm not doing the job. I'm not demonstrating. I'm not modeling. And that's what education's got to do more of. You do that well. I mean, you have fun, you get dressed up, you talk about what you've done, and you make the kids enjoy finding out who Mark Erlenwein is as a person. And I think that's extremely important as we develop this skill set called human interaction knowledge applied skills, and we relate it to using the power of people to your advantage.
Right. And speaking of those human interaction knowledge applied skills, first impression skills is the first skill we're really talking about here. When you're greeting students, shaking their hand, and showing those pearly whites on that face, there's 4 other skills as well. And I thought it'd be important to throw them up here.
Well, I think it's important to realize that there are 5 ways you make a first impression. and that's body language and eye contact and attitude and personality. And we'll discuss those in future episodes because they're like peeling back the pieces of an onion. And then the second skill, and by the way, these 5 skills, first impression, interpersonal communication, presentation, and selling, they build on each other. That handshake and eye contact built the first platform for me to have that student choose to say, maybe I should listen to what Bob says. Maybe he's got something that would be helpful to me. So interpersonal skills are the next set of skills. And what are they? What are they? They're manners and common courtesy and being polite and respectful and kind, having good character, and using the words like your superintendent uses that said, thank you. Thank you for being with me today and supporting what we're trying to do together. I appreciate your time and effort. I appreciate your ideas. Interpersonal skills, Mark, are unbelievably powerful skills in developing the power of people to your advantage.
But certainly not as intuitive as some folks might want to believe they are. I think, like any other skill, it needs to be honed. It needs to be practiced. And in some cases, unfortunately, it has to be demonstrated versus model. It has to be demonstrated with intent repetitively, because it's just not something that I've necessarily seen passed down too well, sometimes in society, sometimes in our schools, sometimes just on the street right outside our very door, outside of home.
Well, we recognize that the interpersonal skill world today is now locked into and tied into the world of screens and keyboard.
Yeah.
Technology has assumed some of the interpersonal skill responsibilities, and it does not do a very good job of it. And frankly, the opportunity to meet someone face to face, to read their body language, to hear their tone of voice, to see the smile on their face, to see the energy in their personality, all of that is lost essentially, unless, of course, you get into the virtual part like we're doing now. You can still use those same interpersonal skill, eye contact and energy level and body language in a positive way. So the first 2 skills are the platform skills for the third one, which is communication skills.
Yeah, and that what's interesting with technology is communication in a sense. You have gotten the opportunity or received the opportunity to pick and choose which way you want to communicate, which is really taking what used to be a 4-dimensional experience. And unfortunately, for way too many of humans on the earth, relinquish it down to 2 dimensions. Yeah, even in a world where you have 3-dimension technology and you can wear goggles and seem like we're right in front of each other, these flat screens have just diminished something quite beautiful and essential to being in each other's presence. And I can't wait until we can really expand upon that idea in the fall, when all students return back to our school.
Well, there are 5 ways we communicate, Mark, very simply. And I read a lot of articles online that say you're either verbal or nonverbal. No. See, when you're dealing with people who are learning something new, the more information you keep simple and specific, the better. So speaking and listening, physical, emotional, all those ways of speaking, of communicating are present. And then writing is a way we communicate. So 5 different ways we communicate are powerful. There's a quote on my wall that I've had there for years. It says, technology is the knack of so arranging the world that we do not experience it. And if you want to be able to communicate effectively, as you do and I do, I took lessons to become a commercial voiceover actor because I wanted to learn what is powerful people resource communication like. So your tone of voice matters and all those things. So communication skill is the third skill on the platform of building these 5 people of power skills that every student can learn, regardless of their grades, their test scores, their social, cultural, or economic background. So first impression, interpersonal communication, they matter. And the fourth one is a combination and accumulation of the first 3. They're called presentation skills. And you know them better than I do in many respects. That's your job.
Yeah, the missed point and opportunity in education often gets left on the table around content and transformation of content versus really what our job is, like to put on these miniature one-act plays, every 41 minutes in the form of a presentation,
Right.
And putting all of these different skills and tools together to leave an impression and hopefully ignite this curiosity in the student to want to learn more on their own independently, and not necessarily just something that's imparted upon you. So yeah, and it's often at times this gets kind of lumped into a public speaking class, and where these first three skills are completely missed altogether. Public speaking is about giving presentations, and none of what we just talked about ever comes into play, which was the missed opportunity that we're talking about.
Well, whenever anyone talks about a skill, which is simply a great knowledge, expertise, capability, or experience, that you learn any skill by just doing two things. You make a commitment to train and practice it a lot, whether it's sports or music or art or acting. And what these students out there listening and the parents out there listening, adult learners out there listening, have to realize is it takes effort and time and energy to learn any skill. And look at it as the T of life, TEE, time, effort, and energy to learn a skill. And they say 21 days, you can learn any new habit. Well, in 21 days, you can learn any new skill. And I think it's even less when you learn how to practice them the right way.
And what's great, what I love about this whole idea is, we have this protocol that we utilize in our school on a pretty regular basis. Many teachers do this. There's a new topic. Let's say there's 5 different themes within this topic for this particular unit. And there are 5 desks, 5 clusters in the classroom. And there's about 4 students at each cluster. We'll give a theme to each of those tables, and we'll give them 20 minutes, put together a small amount of information, and put together a quick little presentation. Of course, this is something that we would have cultivated over time on how to do that. But they all have computers and devices, and they basically put together what turns into like a 3-minute presentation where they have to sell their pitch. They have to go round robin. We'll give them, you have 5 minutes, go to table number 1, give your little presentation to the students, and then go to the next. Get ready to answer questions as you progress. So this idea of creating this repetition around the skill set, and having the students more and more be the ones doing the teaching, and we're facilitating and giving them more opportunities to do this. We've really come to feel is the only way we're ever gonna, crack the surface of what's possible in an educational setting.
Well, I will tell you that the definition of a presentation is one word: performance.
Exactly.
And any performer knows with whatever they do, you have to set the stage first. You got to get the audience ready. If you go to a concert, you have a band that sets up the stage, get the audience ready for the main act. If you have a play that you're doing, you do rehearsals sometimes with audiences to get feedback. So the idea, we'll get into each of these skills in more detail, and we'll use some of our own life stories to explain it. But a presentation requires setting up the stage within the people who are you going to be presenting to. And to ask the student to do a 5-minute elevator pitch without first having some sense of understanding of who they're presenting it to and what their energy level is and what their receptivity level is doesn't make any sense to me. We can't forget the first 4 skills: first impression, interpersonal communication, and presentation, because the last skill is the skill that we do every job that we have requires. And you are an outstanding one. I consider myself a good one. It's the selling skills. And we don't teach selling skills in most schools at all, but that's an accumulation of the first 4.
Yeah, and it's really misthought sometimes by even students. Many of our students go into the field of STEM. I want to be a doctor. And I'll insist upon them, you may want to be a doctor, but you are going to have to be a salesman, probably before you're ever a doctor. because if anyone's going to let you do anything to them, let's say you're a surgeon, you're going to have to put on the sales pitch of your life, really your career, in essence, to convince people to allow them to put your care in their hands. So,
well, we're saying basically that these 5 skills are the fuel. They're the key that open the door of opportunities for you in your life, no matter what you do and what kind of a career path you navigate. And they are complex in some respects. They're very simple in other respects. What's really more important, though, is when we get into each of the skills and we break it down into its component pieces, they're easy to demonstrate. Making eye contact is easy when you learn to take the phone and stop looking at it and look at the person on the screen first. Look at the person you're seeing in person first. Smiling at them first. That acronym simply makes individuals less edgy is another acronym that people go, wow, you're right. If I smile at you and I look at you first, I have a tendency to maybe think, wow, I maybe can connect a little bit with that person. So that little breakdown of what those 5 skills are, they are the 4 corners and the center pole of the power of people, my friend. And they will never go out of style. They will never be replaced solely by technology or AI or anything else in the world of technology. They may be augmented by that, but never replaced.
that's right. And I really look forward to in our future episodes of going through these skills even deeper, sharing our personal and professional stories, and inviting guests on to join us in telling their story and how the power of people was an influence and impactful in their life and career and throughout.
We will get people coming on with us to tell us their story about what people did for them in their life to bring them to where they are. And all we want, what we'd love to have happen with the Power Hour Podcast program, we want you to think, you listener, you viewer, think about the people that have helped you in your life so far. Write their names down. What did they do for you? Did they challenge? Was it a coach? Was it a teacher? Was it a friend? Was it a neighbor? Was it a parent? And as you write the names down and what they did, and look at it, whoever you are, at whatever age you are, you'll realize where you are is because a lot of other people have helped you get there. And you need to build a reservoir of powerful people behind you who give you opportunities to grow in your life. So this has been it's been a fun kick back into the session with episode 7. And sometimes number 7 is the end of the week. We're looking at it as the beginning of a new week as we get to the next episode 8 and on beyond that, to let the people listening realize that the benefit of this Power of Podcast program is for students and graduates and adult learners and adults looking for jobs and changing jobs, struggling with jobs. The skills that we're talking about are universally applied by everyone that walks out of the house in the morning and sees the one constant in every job that they work, and that's people. So thank you, Mark. It's been fun. It's been enjoyable. And we're looking forward to getting together again and having another conversation about some of the individual skills and a little more stories about what they do to help you, what they do to help me. R2D2, it was the perfect metaphor for the force be with you. And the force is the power of people in your life, the number one resource.
And for people who want to speak more about or learn more about this force in their own lives, they can reach us at the Power of People podcast at gmail.com. That's our general email.
Right.
You can, for our viewers and listeners, you can listen to our audio podcast on the Apple Podcast app at buzzsprout.com. We also will be posting these episodes on our YouTube channel. Bob, how can folks reach you?
Well, I'm easily reached. I'm a wolf that's out there by phone at 516-639-5515, or you can drop me an email at bobwolf@hopeskills.com. And if you reach out to me, I will get back to you immediately because and by the way, if you make a phone call and I don't pick up the phone, please leave a message with your name and a number that I can reach you back. And the same thing in your subject line for an email. Say you heard this information on the Power of People podcast and you'd like some more information given back, and you'll get it.
That sounds great. And our website is thepowerofpeoplepodcast.com. I can be reached at markerlenwein@me.com. And then if you email me, my motto and mantra is, if you reach out to me, I will get back to you in 24 minutes, actually 24 seconds, 24 minutes, or 24 hours.